Looking back at India's early science advisory landscape, how would you describe the evolution of the institutional culture around science advice in India?
I think soon after independence, 1947, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was our first Prime Minister. And I think the most important thing was that he believed in science. He believed in science as the one which will lift India into the next orbits of growth, development, reducing inequalities, etc., etc. Because that trust of the leader is very important. That's number one. Having said that, the early advice that he had was very deeply personal, so as to say.
Okay.
It was based on trust. Like, for example, there was this famous Baba-Nehru equation. That means the two went together.
Yes.
Similarly, Mahalanobis, Vikram Sarabhai, and then Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar in different cases. They're all legends in their own right, great scientists, great science leaders, and he leaned on them to get advice. And they were the ones who actually laid the foundations, like, Baba laying the foundation of atomic energy, Mahalanobis laying the foundation of statistical planning, or Vikram Sarabhai, the space sciences, etc.
Yes.
So this is where the foundations were laid, based on the personal chances. Later on, as India grew, of course, these things started getting institutionalized. And therefore, this Science Advisory Committee to the Cabinet came in. And then later on, in Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's time, Science Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister came. Science advice works not just by advising, but by action. Not just by informing, but by implementing. Then, of course, came the Science Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister. Yeah, and now I am very happy that we have our PM stack and the Office of the Principal Secretary, the Government of India, and we are building a very mature ecosystem, so as to say, not in isolation. And we are not just being reactive, but we are being proactive. So this is my answer to your very first question about the evolution, right from individual advice of people like Baba to today in Honorable Prime Minister's vision to create a PM stack.
What do you see as the significance of PM stack that has been in bringing all of these under a single institutional umbrella? And if you can elaborate on the significance of PM stack?
I think first one must understand that context decides the content.
Right.
You can't compare what happened in 80s and what happened in 2020.
Right.
In 80s, we were at $200 GDP per capita. Today, we are $2,500 GDP per capita. So the kind of resources we have now, as against previously, we have to sort of remember that there is a context. There is no direct comparison, number one.
Right.
Two, context decides the content. So whatever was possible at that time, when everything was denied to us, we had to do that. That is not anymore the case. So things kept on changing. So there is no one-to-one comparison. I think that's the first thing I would like to put straight away. The second is, if you remember, the first thing that came out was the science policy resolution. I have not seen a document of that particular kind. So succinct, so short, and so powerful. Okay? But what did it have? It only had science. Then in 1983, we say, no, it can't go alone. Science and technology must come together. So in 1983, we did science and technology policy. I remember with Dr. Ramarao, I was involved in some part of the draft and all that, etc. All of us contributed. Then in 2003, I was the DG of CSR at that time. We said that can't do because science leads to technology, but unless technology leads to innovation, and innovation is converting an idea into impact, things won't work. So that time, 2003, we created a science and technology policy. But later on, moving forward, we said, no, that will not do. And we had science, technology, and innovation policy. Okay?
Yeah.
So first thing that I like to credit PM Stack is about integrating science, technology, and innovation together. That is the first. I would consider this is a very admirable integration, and it is not just administrative integration. It is an intellectual integration. Now, I admire what has been done by Stack, and let me, I made a note of what I liked, actually. Okay. The first is creating national missions like quantum, AI, deep ocean, waste to wealth, etc. Okay. Number two is what you did during COVID-19 was absolutely remarkable. You know, that is a call diagnostics,
Right.
the vaccine issue, and getting everybody together. I would say that was number two. Number three, I like your deep ocean mission because this is a blue economy initiatives which have been neglected so far. Fourth, what I like is your circular economy pilot program, waste to wealth. Fifth, I like your Manav Atlas because this is citizen science for digital biology, and that's great. Sixth, I like the ethical framework of AI and biotech. That is the technology governance, basically. How do we integrate? Seventh, I like the innovation ecosystem, and particularly NRF, the National Research Foundation, the funding mechanism that are now coming, etc. They all originated from that thinking, and also the startup links that were established. The eighth I liked was the public engagement. You know, the Inspire Awards, or Manthan platform, and so. Then what I liked was that India has space in the global arena, and we must influence the world. And therefore, the science diplomacy, that means global science, technology, innovation engagement, whether it was G20, whether it was DICS, etc., I like that. And the 10th one, I would say, is the coordination, because the ministries acted in silos, and this cross-ministerial science integration. So among many, many things that you have done, I would pick up these top 10, and I'm a great admirer of these, I would say.
How does ETG's focus on technology governance, as opposed to just advisory, represent a shift in India's approach to science and technology policy? Your thoughts on that?
I like that very much, because when we talk about emerging technology,
Yes, sir.
we are actually talking about exponential technology.
Right, right.
And the reason I call it exponential technology is that the performance goes up exponentially and the costs go down exponentially. Okay? And therefore, whether it is big data analytics, whether virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, blockchain, whole range of these are going to basically rule our world. Now, when they rule our world, there are issues concerning the regulatory aspects, the ethics aspect, deployment aspects, what we should take care of, etc. Because they are, as much it is possible to benefit from them as they will do the damage. And therefore, to have an overall look on that, what it means is very important.
Right.
The third is there are aspects of build, deploy, and govern. Okay? So
Yes.
when these technologies are built, if they are not properly deployed, nothing happens. If they are deployed but they are not governed, it doesn't happen. Now, I'm not saying that we should take over everything. I'm not saying that. All that I'm saying is that we should act as an inspirator. We should act as a coordinator. We should act as an organization which has a convening power to bring people together, so as to say, like you did in sort of COVID. And then for all these, artificial intelligence, synthetic biology, digital health that you picked up,
Yes.
I support all of them. Now, in this case, there is only one word of caution. And the caution is about the speed.
So, from your experience, what are the enabling conditions, structurally, politically, culturally, that make science advice truly influential in high-level policy making, considering in India, and that's also connected globally, but mainly in India?
I would say there is one word that is most critical, without which everything comes to zero. You know what is that one word? Trust. All great things that have happened are because of the trust that the top political leadership had in the science leaders. The second is, we must understand that science is not standalone.
Absolutely.
It has to integrate across several disciplines. That means economy, ethics, society, sociology, and so on. We tend to sort of take them in isolation. That is not correct. In fact, I have this book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, where we have mentioned 4 things called STEP. That is, of course, society, technology, economics, and policy. 4. They have to come together. It's not just technology. You can have all the technology in the world. Wrong policies will finish it. Economic doesn't work out, it will finish it. Society will finish it if they don't like it. So that integration is the second point. The third point is the culture of evidence. Our governance has to be based on very strong analytics, informed decision making. Analytical, informed decision making.
As India builds more data-rich, AI-assisted, and multidisciplinary institutions, what role do you see for advanced analytics, science tech innovation statistics, and cross-sectoral intelligence in the future of science advice?
I would say the previous advisory mechanisms, although they tried to look into the future by creating IFAC, etc., but here we require now dramatic change. And 3 I would mention.
Okay.
First, from hindsight to foresight. The second is from passive to predictive. And third will be from linear to looped linkage, loop layers, so as to say.
Based on your experience, what do you think are some gaps in science advice policy approach? How can Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor strengthen its role? And how do you see future of science advice mechanisms? Basically, like you said, that there's always context in content. So how do you think science advice was approached earlier, how it has evolved, and how should it be approached going forward?
Let me illustrate to you, because you will also get a historical perspective. When I was in Delhi, we had Science Advisory Committee to the ministries. For example, petroleum and natural gas. I myself was the chairman for that. Professor Sharma before me, and so on and so forth. And lots of great things that happened in that ministry were as a result of that. And we had recommended that each ministry should have it, because each ministry can make use of science. Like we said, even ministries which are dealing with humanities. You understand, like maybe women empowerment, that and the other, etc. They can use technology. So my first recommendation would be that. The second is that all the states used to have science advisory committees. We had pushed for that. There was this Prime Minister's National Innovation Council, chaired by Sam Pitroda. I was a member of that. And at that time, we created state innovation councils. So each state, 22 states have innovation councils. Okay? So what we can do is that, and science and innovation has to go together. Third one is, I have already mentioned, the integration.
Yeah.
You know, whether it is ethics, whether it is social science, whether it is economics, whether it is sociology, all these, some or the other, people with that expertise have to be sort of brought in, because they look at it from human angle, not from science and technology angle. Other thing is that science must perpetuate itself, find its way in everything. It cannot be episodic, whether it is budgets, whether it is legislation, whether it is diplomacy, and so on and so forth. Because science has a role to play in everything. Science must penetrate the legal system. Science must, and that they will not come to you. You have to go to them. So I will simply make a list, of ministries where science can make a difference, and you cannot do everything.
Right.
But then you can network and say what can be done, why it has to be done, and what difference it can make. So I think our future, we have to be driven by data, we have to be driven by values, and then we will arrive.